The 2PM Newscast
with
Mapala Zita.
Monday, 13th of October 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's Royal Afternoon Edition, the 2 p.m. news on Royal FM with me, Mapala Zita. Over 8 million voters in Cameroon went to the polls yesterday to select among 12 candidates who will be their president for the next 7 years.
8,010,464 electors were expected in 31,653 polling stations, including 108 abroad.
Out of Cameroon, Madagascar's president is expected to address his nation at 7 p.m. today following the unrest in that country. And in sports, the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon will today take on their Angolan counterpart in their 10th qualification fixture. Ladies and gentlemen, those were the headlines.
2025 presidential election, a special page in the news.
We open the special page receiving Abel Bela Samari, who is our Director of Informations and Editorialist here at Royal FM. Good afternoon, Abel.
Good afternoon to you, Mapala Zita.
Voters in Cameroon went to the polls yesterday, Sunday, October the 12th, to choose between 12 candidates who will be the next leader of the country. Though social media trends speak of hitches here and there, official reports say voting went on in total serenity in all parts of the country. And in the following commentary, Abel, you say, or you rather look at the importance for Cameroonians to avoid following social media trends and permit the right authorities to do their job.
You are very correct, Mapala Zita, because history holds that the 2025 presidential election has come. The voting stage has gone. And now all Cameroonians are impatiently waiting on the result, even though some claim to have known who the winner is. This attitude of knowing who the winner is, contrary to what the law says, is what is making the peace in Cameroon fragile. Many Cameroonians, perhaps out of ignorance, have been asking the question, what is stopping Elekam from announcing the results in the very shortest time? Yes, Elekam can or should do, but let us not forget that Cameroon democracy in recent times is in a geometric progression, while the electoral code has remained in an arithmetic progression. Our laws governing elections in Cameroon has not evolved within time. It has remained static. Section 63 of the Electoral Code states that a divisional supervising commission shall be set up in each division and shall be responsible for ensuring smooth conduct of elections, preparation and election operation proper. When you go to Section 67, Sub 1, they say the proceeding of the Divisional Supervising Commission shall be conducted on the basis of reports forwarded by officials of council branches of Elections Cameroon. Sub 2 equally states that in case of mass miscalculation, the Divisional Supervising Commission may correct the corresponding report. However, it shall not cancel them. In case of rectification or adjustment, the Divisional Supervising Commission must explain its decision and mention it in the report. Subsection 3 states that the deliberation of the Divisional Supervising Commission shall be recorded in report signed by the chairperson and commissioners present. Copy of the report shall be established according to the members present plus 2. Each signatory of the report shall receive a copy. The copy held by the representative of Elekam shall be the authentic text. Subsection 4 equally states that a copy of the said report shall be forwarded to the General Directorate of Election. Apart from the Divisional Supervising Commission that has a lot of work to do in the counting of our vote, there is the National Commission for the final counting of vote. They too have a lot of work as stated in Section 68 of the Electoral Code. So you see, from all this perspective, there are many hands managing the elections in Cameroon. These hands need time for them to be able to do their work diligently. So, as you share the results of the so-called elections, know that Cameroon punishes social media crimes through the 2010 law on cybersecurity and cyber crimes, which impose penalties like imprisonment and fines for offenses such as unlawful interceptions and spreading of fake news. Specific penalties by the varies by crime, but for activities like sharing fake false information that could harm public peace, penalties are double. There is nothing wrong in us Cameroonians waiting for the final results to be published. When you read through the electoral code, you will just discover that it is just within 15 days we all shall know the winner. Let's keep our calm while waiting for the result in peace, as we pray for the day when the electoral code will metamorphose. I will see the changes, reducing the many hands that manage elections in Cameroon. So as we wait for the final results, there is one thing that we must hold so dear in our heart: peace, which is a virtue for us all.
Abel Belas Marie in that commentary. I also welcome Evans Williams Njobati into the studio. Good afternoon, Evans.
Good afternoon, Maparazita.
Cameroonians nationwide yesterday exercised their voting rights during the October 12 presidential elections, and you have updates of how it went.
Starting from the voting poll at the government bilingual primary school Bastos, one will notice that the exercise was serene as these voters confirmed.
Dennis Chair, I just think that things should go smoothly as I'm seeing now, so that we will have a good result and view.
Janice, we are praying for the best for the country, and we want that everything should move accordingly as we promise and the God Almighty promise for the best of the country. So I'm so delighted to be a Cameroonian citizen and to vote for the election of 2025.
Abdo Momini Usmanu. Well, no difficulties for now. I pray and fast that my voice should be counted. It is come for now, even though some people have not get their polling stations. All those inconveniences. Some people even come without their card.
Same atmosphere at the P&Ju Primary School Center that recorded over hundreds of voters, as we noticed.
No, if it is the difficulties, I had difficulties when I was to have my voter's card. I got there for more than 5 times, but I finally have it. So I just reached here. There was somebody that oriented me where I was to vote. So when I reached there, I saw my name. There were people around me that are having difficulties, but I am not among them. Presently, I may say that the vote is going on well and transparent, but it is only that when you see the people representing the militants inside the voting office, all of them are not there, because you take about 12 cards, but the people that are representing their militants, they are sitting about 3 of them. But I think if the 3 can do their job well, everything will be good.
Also present at the polling stations were some observers who came to ensure that the vote went on in transparency. Dr. Roland Atangana and Bertrand Kemonye from Salvation Foundation and Human Virtues, respectively.
In the western part of Cameroon, everything's all right. When we go in the far north, was a little bit disorder, but everything came to order. So up to now, we believe that at the end of the day, all the incident, anything that we are going to meet on the ground, we are going to compile it in our report that will be available in 2 days.
I came here this morning. I just realized that all the bureau de vote, as they say, were open just at the time, 8 o'clock. I just controlled if the 12 candidates were represented. Everything till now has been going very well, without any problem, without any incident, without any accident. We are just happy that everything went well. I think that since we came, we have been seeing things going in transparency, and we think that everything will finish also like that in transparency. It's not my job, that's the job of the party politics. If they didn't send their people, we are just sorry for that.
In the same spirit, all 12 contesting candidates have all casted their vote. In the North region, Issa Chiroma Bakari and Bello Buba Maigari performed their duty. In the littoral, we had Serge Espoir Matomba, Samuel Yodi Hiram, and Joshua Osi, who did the needful. Getting to the central region, incumbent President Paul Biya, Ateki Seta Caxton, Akere Muna, Cabral Libi, and Jacques Bouga Hagbe all voted, while Patricia Tumaino Damjoya and Pierre Como both conducted their civil duty in the West region. Zita.
Meantime, administrative authorities have warned individuals on publishing results on social media outlets to cease from these illegal acts. Evans.
According to the Director General of Elections Cameroon, Dr. Eric Esuse, the 2025 presidential elections were carried out in a calm spirit with no major incidents recorded in the 31,653 polling stations at home and 108 abroad. He also noted that all election materials and documents were made available on time and in strict respect of the law. Take a listen to Dr. Eric Esuse on the microphone of Political Desk editor and editorialist Jean-Marie Anaba.
The election of the President of the Republic on this day, 12 October 2025, took place within very acceptable conditions across the national territory and abroad. 8,010,464 electors were expected in 31,653 polling stations, including 108 abroad. The standard fundamentals of a good election were respected. Notably, local polling commission opened polling station at 8 a.m. and closed them at 6 p.m. Election material and documents were available in all the polling stations. Electors cast their vote in absolute freedom, in the spirit of calm. No major incidents were recorded throughout the voting operations. After the polls closed at 6 p.m., the polling commissions immediately carried out vote counting in accordance with the law. The election return reports of the local commission will be forwarded to the different competent joint electoral commissions, notably divisional supervisory commissions and subsequently the National Commission for the final counting of votes.
Same at the Ministry of Territorial Administration, where Minister Paul Atanganji, in a press briefing yesterday shortly after the polls were closed, indicated that there was a low turnout of representatives from various political voting centers. More to this, he issued a warning to those publishing results on the various social media platforms, reiterating that this privilege was given to the Constitutional Council as the only organ authorized to proclaim elections after 15 days as from October 12, 2025. Here is an excerpt of his speech on the microphone of our reporter Bertrand Bois.
This Sunday, 12 October 2025, Cameroonians went to polling stations across the country to elect the President of the Republic. Initial reports forwarded by administrative authorities to the Minister of Territorial Administration indicate that the election effectively took place in all the 360 subdivisions of the country. Administrative authorities confirmed that ballot papers of all 12 candidates were deposited by Elections Cameroon in all polling stations in the 10 regions. They, however, noted a very low turnout of representatives of several candidates at polling stations nationwide. More details will be available once the local commissions may have completed their work. Candidates should be reminded that they all signed a code of good conduct drafted by Elections Cameroon, which requires them to respect the entire electoral process and the laws of the Republic. The administration will take drastic measures to put an end to any attempt of fabricating fake election results and publishing them on illegal platforms.
And before Sunday's exercise, several markets in Cameroon's urban cities were congested as inhabitants scrambled to stock their homes with foodstuff and other necessary items. Evans.
Actually, Zita, this was driven by several rumors surrounding the voting day, which arose fear and uncertainty. As such, our reporter Glory Gange got to some Yaoundé city dwellers on this issue and now reports.
Few days to the presidential election, which took place this Sunday, a rapid spread of false alarm, especially on social media, urged Cameroonians to restock necessary items like foodstuff and cooking fuel. The Claudette is one of the victims who hit to this trend.
I knew my gas was almost getting finished and I was like, let's get finished. I should refill before the election day. I had to boil beans on my gas. I had to do extra things on my gas for it to get finished, and finally it got finished and I filled it before yesterday. About food, I almost bought all the market though, just because of what people are saying. Oh, it's not going to be easy. I'm even surprised that even today they have open places.
The situation was worse in the two English-speaking regions of the country, already suffering from the effects of the ongoing socio-political crisis.
In relation to the Anglophone crisis and due to threatening messages that so many people received, we had to be scared for what we don't actually know, but to be on the safe side. So many of us were advised to stock our house. Since the election was already at hand, we had to make so many people to go to the market on Saturdays to buy foodstuffs, and due to that, even those that don't have money had to go a long way to look for money just to stock.
However, city dwellers who were properly informed were more at peace as they believed elections is a normal exercise. This is the case of Hussein and Courage.
On Saturday, people were actually buying so many foodstuffs to stock. There was me when they just said stores will be closed on Sunday from morning to evening. I was not scared, I was fine. I did not do me any stocking.
I think the reason people stopped their home before the election, they just for safety reasons. Yeah, nothing more.
Victims who spent hundreds of thousands are now left in regret, as Ndiclodet laments.
The type of money we used to buy is normally not like that, and it will make us to face some difficulties because there are normally, even as I've bought food like that, within the month I'll still have to remove 1,000, 2,000 to buy some kind of things that you cannot actually preserve them. It has actually landed us in so many things I've never expected.
As Cameroonians enter the post-electoral period, it is vital that citizens should be selective about the information gotten from on and off the social media platforms.
2025 presidential election, that was our special page in the news.
And still to come in this newscast, ladies and gentlemen, we talk disaster risk reduction.
It's a collaborative effort that will need the government, the community, and individuals to put their hands together to see that we build a resilient community and reduce the risks of these disasters.
Welcome back. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to the 2 p.m. news on Royal FM and watching us live on YouTube at Royal FM Cameroon. Today, October the 13th, is being observed as the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction to acknowledge the progress being made towards reducing disaster risk and losses in lives, livelihood, and health. This year's observation is under the theme Fund Resilience, Not Disasters, and it comes at a time when Cameroon faces a range of disaster risks from floods and landslides to droughts and epidemics. In the following Vox Pop compiled by Ngang Nadesh, some Cameroonians explain why people choose to build and live in risk zones despite government warnings.
I think that people build and still live in risky areas first because of poverty and limited options and urbanization and pressure. And I also think that cultural ties make people to continue to live in risky zones. People still living in maybe beside a mountain when it has been dictated that there's going to be maybe a flood, an earthquake, but because there's an ancestral tie there, they feel that tie, that emotional tie to be there because their ancestors were there. This is where they were born. This is where they know. And so it makes them still cleave onto that place.
Another reason why people get this land, despite the government measures put in place, is due to ignorance. Even though some are actually aware of these measures, but they still go for these lands. They have their reasons. Some say it's better I have a place, no matter where the place is, where I'm going to stay, and nobody will come and knock my door and be like, money for rent every month. So no matter where the place is, as long as it's my own place, I find. So some are actually aware of these measures, but they still go for these lands.
I think people live in risky zones because it is easy to afford land in those places. Like in these swampy areas, selling lands there is cheap compared to zones that are not risky. So people prefer to go there and get the lands the cheaper price so that they can save more, or that's what they can afford.
And as the world marks the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction today, our reporter Ngang Nadesh sat down with an expert who assesses the context of risk disasters in Cameroon and possible preventive measures.
With the country's diverse geography and climate, Cameroon faces a range of disasters from floods and landslides to earthquakes and droughts. Emmanuel Emerson is an environmental scientist.
Flooding. Arguably, this has been the most frequent and the most widespread disasters, and it has been caused by heavy rainfalls, poor drainage system, deforestation, and poorly constructed houses across flood-prone areas has greatly been affected. We have drought as another primary disaster that we face in Cameroon, landslide, most especially in mountainous areas, and we have what I call human-induced disasters. A major example is wildfire and deforestation.
Building resilience and reducing disaster risks requires a collaborative effort from individuals, communities, and government. Emmanuel Emerson once again.
It's a collaborative effort that will need the government, the community, and individuals to put their hands together to see that we build a resilient community and reduce the risks of these disasters. Raising awareness is very, very much imperative. Even as a community, we can do what I call community risk assessment.
The environmentalist notes that effective disaster risk reduction and environmental management requires a top-down approach where government policies provide a framework and direction for community-led initiatives.
Governmental actions, yes, it has to start with policies. If it's not addressed at the level of policies, every other thing that is done will have little or no weight. So governmental actions in tandem with the community work, they will have to put in policies, regulation that will help to guide the behaviors of individuals and community members when interacting with the environment.
The environmentalist concludes by further reiterating that
building code laws, like in Boya, we have a building code that says that people should not build a house above 3-story building because Boya is an area that is vulnerable to landslide. That's an example of an initiative that the government can come up with. They could do things like training young people, training community members, because it's not just supposed to be a top-down approach. There have to be an opportunity where people at the lower level are being empowered, since they are in direct relation with the community. They are being empowered to carry out actions themselves. And we also have to establish an opportunity where the government, the individuals, NGOs can have meetings, maybe once a year. People can share their thoughts. There should be some level of decentralization regards to the responsibilities and even the disbursements of funds to carry out these measures.
disasters are becoming more frequent, more costly, and more devastating. While direct disaster costs have grown to approximately $202 billion annually, the Global Assessment Report on Disaster Risk Reduction 2025 estimates that the true cost is 11 times higher at nearly $2.3 trillion.
Colonialism in Cameroon didn't only revolve around politics, but it equally left some spots on the country's economic landscape. Over 50 years of independence, the burden of colonial agreements still weigh on Cameroon. Now, just how can the country break away from these outdated agreements? Jeffrey Tachum had a conversation with economists who give their insights in this report.
Dr. Tumenta Kennedy begins by outlining some of the most outstanding colonial agreements that Cameroon is still entangled with.
These agreements often persist in areas such as resource extractions, meaning that contracts governing oil, timber, and minerals that heavily favored foreign corporations with limited benefit to our local economy could be still in place. We also have preferential trade agreements that may lock Cameroon into exporting raw materials rather than developing value-added industry.
For the economic experts, there exist many ways through which Cameroon can step out of colonial trap and embark on a new trajectory.
We have continuously renewed and expanded our military partnership with Russia, with Germany and other nations. We have also signed trade agreements and trade partnership with other partners, not only France, but now we are discussing with the European Union through the Economic Partnership Agreement.
Other economists like Sarah Femberger suggest an adoption of a new currency for Cameroon.
The country have to envisage its proper currency and also to assure that this currency must not be again controlled by any European powers. The country may suffer from the absence of new capitals that are not yet available in Cameroon.
Cameroon is still suffering from the negative impacts of colonization, and the use of the CFA franc currency is the most symbolic example of such colonial past.
Out of Cameroon, Madagascar's President André Rajoelina is expected to deliver a speech amidst growing tension, though many wonder if he is still in his country. He's been noticeably absent since last Saturday, only breaking his silence with a brief statement claiming he's still on Madagascan territory and strongly condemning what he described as an attempted destabilization and illegal seizure of power. Tensions remain high as the Army Chief of Staff has reportedly been replaced. All eyes are now on the president, who is expected to address the nation this evening at 7 p.m. But until then, the country waits and wonders who is actually in control after the CAPSA called on all security forces to disobey their commanders and join the population in protest. Opposition leader Patrick Helmini has won the presidential elections in Seychelles, defeating incumbent leader Wavel Ramkalawan in a runoff vote, this according to official results released on Sunday. Helmini garnered 52.7% of the votes, with Ramkalawan taking 47.3%. In a brief remark after he was declared president-elect, the former National Assembly Speaker said the people have spoken and he was deeply humbled by the trust bestowed in him. Ramkalawan has reportedly congratulated the winner. The French presidency announced Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu's new cabinet lineup on Sunday, with most top jobs remaining unchanged at a time when opponents are demanding a political shift to win their support for urgent budget talk. Lecornu, who was reappointed Prime Minister last week after a previous stint lasted just 27 days, has pledged to deliver a cabinet of renewal and diversity, but is stuck with his previous picks for most of the choice jobs. We talk sports just after this break. And in sports, we begin with handball. Cameroon's representatives at the African Club Handball Championship have kicked off their campaign on a bad note. Biwa, Brian, you tell us more.
In the women's category, TKC played Al Ahly of Egypt on the first day and lost by 21 to 34 goals, while Fab Girls faced Flowers of Benin on day one and recorded a win, scoring 32 goals as opposed to 24 goals they conceded. In the men's category, Fab Boys faced African Sports of Cote d'Ivoire and lost by a slim margin of 25 to 26 and are scheduled to have their next bite at the competition this evening against Montanda of Angola at 7 p.m. The female team on their side will check into match day 3 of the set competition on Tuesday with games against their counterpart from Benin and Cote d'Ivoire.
Brian, the qualifiers for the Women's African Basketball League will kick off on October the 15th and will be represented by Cameroon, will be represented by Fab Girls and Overdose Basket Club.
Fab, the reigning champions of Cameroon, will carry the weight of Cameroon's basketball hopes as they enter the zonal qualifiers, which typically features intense competition among clubs from the Central African region. Their performance will be closely watched as they aim to join the continent's elite and improve upon previous showing by Cameroonian teams. Notably, the Cameroonian representatives will compete in Zone 4 of the qualifiers, which is scheduled for October 15 to October 25 in Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo. They will face off against teams from Gabon, the Central African Republic, and the Democratic Republic of Congo for the lone qualification ticket from Zone 4.
And the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon will today shape their World Cup qualification fixtures after today's game against Angola at the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium, slated for 5 p.m.
For Cameroon, this fixture is an absolute must-win as they chase automatic qualification for the 2026 World Cup. But to secure the spot and automatic qualification, Cameroon must beat Angola and simultaneously hope that Cape Verde drops points against Eswatini by either a draw or a defeat. In that both logic is not met, the Lions will then compete for one of the best top 4
spot in the African continent to be able to qualify as one of the best second place teams in the group. Mark Breeze, head coach of the Indomitable Lions.
The only thing is what we can do is win the game and see how far it will bring us. I think our average in goal scoring and goal against is very high. So for sure we'll be in the worst scenario, one of the two best seconds. So it gives the opportunity to, if we continue, we only have to play one game, and if we win it, we are selected for the World Cup. So of course we wish that we can finish it now tomorrow. But if not so, we're also mentally prepared to fight for the next games also.
Angola, known as the Palanca Negres, currently sit fourth in the group with 11 points, and their hopes of World Cup qualification have already been mathematically ended. But they are, however, expected to play without pressure and could prove to be a resilient and tricky opponent. The bad part is Cameroon has been dealt a major blow ahead of the game, with defender Michel Ngandou and Nicolas Brice Ngamalu, who are unavailable for the set fixture. Ngandou is suspended after accumulating yellow cards, while Ngamalu has been ruled out with a left thigh injury, as confirmed by the Cameroon Football Federation. Galama and so simply share their views ahead of today's game.
I think it's a must-win match. All the opponents of the Lions in the past know what Fandena is. With the recent performances of the team, we are coming from a comfortable win away from home. The team is just supposed to do the job at home for us to at least secure the second spot, although it's still possible to qualify directly.
I think the Lions will be regretting the mistakes they made earlier in these World Cup qualifiers, but nevertheless, the deal has already been done. One more game to go with regards to the World Cup qualifiers, Cameroon and Angola, and of course we are certain, given the history and the magnitude of the game. So if the gods of football favor Cameroon, then Cape Verde fails to win and Cameroon wins Angola, then definitely we are going to the World Cup directly. If the coach Mark Breeze now knows that Carl Etayong was definitely the best and the most perfect person to be in the pitch on that day, so we are expecting him to start again in Yaoundé and come Monday.
Doreen Bimi has joined me in the studio with a summary of this newscast in the French language. Bon après-midi, Doreen.
Good afternoon, Mapalazita. Politique, élection présidentielle, un vote sans incident majeur dans les 360 arrondissements du pays. Les Camerounais ont accompli leur devoir civique dans 61 653 bureaux de vote ouverts à travers le pays. Société, elle se célèbre ce 13 octobre 2025, la journée internationale pour la réduction des risques de catastrophe. Une journée mise à contribution pour sensibiliser aux risques naturels et technologiques et à la nécessité de mesures de prévention. Sur la scène internationale à Madagascar, le discours du président Andry Rajoelina et Lina est attendu ce 13 octobre 2025. Ce pays est secoué depuis le 25 septembre par des manifestations réprimées contre les coupures d'eau et d'électricité qui se sont muées en contestation contre le pouvoir. En sport, football, éliminatoire Coupe du Monde 2026, le Cameroun dans un ultime duel ce lundi contre l'Angola. C'est dans le cadre de la 10e et dernière journée des matchs de poule. La rencontre se discute ce jour à 17h au stade Amadou Ahidjo.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the package we put together for you on today's Royal Afternoon edition. We received technical assistance from Urish Kemwe. Brian Bida took care of the cameras for our Facebook Live, while Boris Tedomo took care of the cameras for our YouTube live video. Production assistant Biwa Brian, script editing and editorial coaching Abel Bela Samari, central coordination Roger Kiek, our station manager, and general supervision by the Reverend Pastor Bisai Emmanuel Noel. For news editing and presentation, my name is Mapalazita. Thank you all for your kind attention, and do have a pleasant afternoon in the company of programs over Royal FM. Up next is part 2 of Fresh Air Royal with Tata Flo, who has joined me back in the studio. Welcome back, Tata Flo.
Thank you very much. Je m'appelle Azita. Patou of Fraîcheur Royal. I want to try to translate the topic in English.
Okay.
I hope that we'll be able. Are you for or against the wedding between partner two young?
Two young partners.
Yes. Two young partners. Yes. It is a topic. En tout cas, je vais redire l'affaire en français. Êtes-vous pour ou contre les mariages entre des partenaires trop jeunes? C'est toujours la thématique en début d'émission qui se poursuit pour cette seconde partie. On aura bien entendu la page pratique avec Dorine Mbimi et bien d'autres choses. On se dit à tout à l'heure.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay with Tata Flo. Stay tuned and